There are just a couple of main passages I'd have you know from this neuropsychological views and evidence. However, it's interesting. It's not such a dull passage. Can language be localized? There are two areas, Broca's and Wernicke's. When they are injured, they often have aphasias associated with them. In other words, underperforming of brain parts. Broca's tends to result in the inability to produce speech. I'll have a video in the same folder that depicts Sarah Scott, who had Broca's aphasia at one point. She's made a great recovery since. But she, at first, could scarcely say her own name and could not voice her own age, although she knew those things. So the Broca's area is involved in the production of speech. Wernicke's, as you'll see with Byron, the production of speech is smooth and fluid. However, it's nonsensical. It's unrestrained. It can't be marshaled. Different things. Now, that's not to say that every time a person has a stroke and suffers this brain insult, as they call it, they have these acute aphasias. But it often happens. And you may have seen evidence from your own life. I was really struck in, it was 30 years ago, pretty much this month. It was, March of 94. My late grandfather, who was very erudite, almost like a member of royalty, was very extremely well spoken, very urbane, I guess you could say. And he suffered a stroke, and I don't know that Broca's area was affected, but he was rendered non-communicative nearly. And it was a hell of a shock to all of us. So these brain insults can result in that. Now, another maxim that is often assumed, which is largely true for most people, is that the left hemisphere is dominant for language. So when that's impaired by a stroke, it tends to be the case that people are slower to recover their language. And also, among men are more lateralized in that way. In other words, they tend to have all of their language concentrated in the left hemisphere, and thus they're slower to recover from strokes. Women, on the other hand, when they have a stroke, they tend to have a more favorable situation in which they regain language more quickly because the language abilities are more diffuse into the right hemisphere also. Kind of an interesting bit of trivia.